strengths, but there's actually a less altruistic reason. We need to grow our population over the years to come because our natural demographics are not positive. So we need to attract people to come here so that we've got those to do the jobs and service the economy that we need. So that's a really big commitment. I feel it very personally, but it is also really important for our hard-edged interests as a country.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Today I'm asking Parliament to agree to urgent and joint action to address the labour market challenges that we're facing as a result of COVID and Brexit. The Scottish Government has been actively working to resolve these challenges over a matter of months, but we do need the help and the support of this Parliament and of the UK Government. And that's why I'm calling on the Parliament to support the Government's work to protect the provision of services and the delivery of goods through our supply chains, and calling on the UK Government to commit to establishing a joint task force on labour market shortages with the Scottish Government. We need action, we need engagement from the UK Government, we need a migration system that works for Scotland.
The demographics of Scotland are quite challenging. Our birth rate is not growing at a fast enough rate. Our population is ageing, which is a good thing. People are living longer. But we face a situation in future that if we don't attract people to come and live in Scotland, our working age population may decline.
The Scottish Government developed our pioneering New Scots approach in a partnership with COSLA and the Scottish Refugee Council. Our public services, third sector and communities work together to support our vision for a welcoming Scotland where refugees and asylum seeker integration is supported from day one. We are ambitious about embedding human rights and trauma-informed practice to improve how we support vulnerable people, including victims of human trafficking, domestic abuse survivors and children. We recognise that we need an inward flow of people to support our economy and the growth of our businesses, to develop services and to support strong, diverse communities.
Scotland is home for the new emerging communities, a place of welcome and belonging for the new Scots. They have a vital role to play in shaping the future of our country. Let us be aware not of what is wrong in these communities, but what is strong. We have much to celebrate together with those we welcome into our land. Thank you.
Fuck off.
On system change within policy making, and I think it's really right that I'm here because that actually has been the focus of my work for well over 15 years. In that time, Scotland's demography has fundamentally changed forever.
I mean, Guy, you know, there's a particular moment in that final, or the guy in the final clip, I should say. I lost my composure trying to record him earlier on with his comparison, or his analogy of what he thinks Scotland is comparable to. I might play it just for a bit of humour towards the end of this little video. But it's just really, he acknowledges in that video that he moved to the United Kingdom at the age of 9 years old. Yet somehow along the way he's now managed to establish himself as somebody that the Scottish Government can invite in for a little time for reflection segment, which is something they do once a week, I believe, where they roll in people from all walks of life, but they tend to swing to the progressive side of the aisle as opposed to anything else, really. But he refers to Scotland as his land, or our land, our Scottishness, etc. But it's the elephant in the room, really, with people like him. And it's not the fact that he's an annoying, irritable BAME, which he kind of is, admittedly, but that's not really the issue here. It's the fact that he's he's one of many who have come before him who seem to not see the issue with, not only is he in front of our parliament, in front of all of our politicians, our puppet politicians, but he's gloating in a sense. It comes across as gloating. He's salivating at the prospect of Scotland becoming more and more and more open and welcoming and suggestible to other cultures, and more the country overall in time will begin to look like him or represent people like him. There's a emphasis in his speech about the need to embrace other cultures in Scotland as opposed to encouraging integration, which further dilutes Scotland as a nation. I mean, it's self-explanatory from the clips I played at the beginning that should in and of themselves be ringing alarm bells to the average Scot, but they never seem to. We just don't understand the mindset of your proverbial SNP supporter. If they hear clips such as that, do they support that? Do they accept that? Are they okay with the fact that every single person in that parliament, at some point or another, I just pulled up a few clips that I had to hand from recent, but there's been many that have come before them, where they all acknowledge the fact that birth rates are declining, and instead of expressing or even pretending to express some vague semblance of concern, they just say point blank that this is an easy fix, we will just import people. And of course, in doing so, if the trajectory is supposed to continue and will continue, it means the end of us as a people. And there's just no concern at all. No concern. That's why I will never see eye to eye with most SNP supporters, because either they're too thick to realise just who they actually support, or they're in favour of it. And I don't actually know what's fucking worse. At least if they're thick, they can be sort of educated, if they so choose to see. But when it comes to the people that actually supports this fucking malevolent, genocidal shit, how can you have any time for them? They might be Scottish, they might not be. Who knows at this point? I'm referring, of course, to the plethora of SNP fanboys and cult members that I found myself arguing with in recent days on several different videos, purely because I've been seeing such an uptick in them referring to the English as racist. Yet, the English have been seeing a hell of a lot more immigration in comparison to Scotland for some time. English folks are living amongst the hell that awaits Scotland in the future, but there's a fucking urgent, there's this niggling desperation to cling onto a moral high ground up here. I know, accompanied by politicians, of course. The Scottish politicians will always brag about the fact that they want to do things differently up here with an immigration system that's bold and sustainable and open and progressive and all the rest of that namby-pamby wishy-washy rhetoric. But what that really boils down to is letting as many in as possible. It's a means to solve our ageing population, and we will embrace the diversity as it comes. But the reality of the matter is that will just mean the process of outbreeding us, the process of diluting the nation will be sped up further, and then it will get to a point where it will be irreversible. Scotland will become unrecognisable. And then I wonder if these same people that are calling the English racist just now for voting for parties or supporting parties that promise to reduce immigration, would they still be saying that, or would they regret their insults? I don't understand why there seems to be such a lack of capability to look outside the box, thinking to the future, when it comes to people in Scotland. This blind support for a party that promised them independence but spend more time sat in Parliament telling you to change your fucking behaviour to live with a so-called virus that they themselves now acknowledge for the vast majority of us won't harm you at all. But you still have to play make-believe because there might be a vulnerable person out there that has anxiety. I mean, just fuck off. While you're simultaneously being told that you also need to change your behaviour again for the climate. Yeah, okay. While they promote their feminist shit. Accelerate their feminist promotion in the schools, eradicating those gender stereotypes, doing everything they can to ensure that the birth rate continues to plummet. No concern, but yet they're branded as nationalists on mainstream media, and it's a shield they will hide behind when they have to. I expect to hear the SNP politicians constantly call out anybody that calls them a nationalist, but quite often they don't do that. There is video footage out there. I've got some of that stuff on my channel of Thin Lips denouncing the term nationalist. Articles, Humza doing the same thing as well. Can give a fuck what Humza thinks about the term nationalism as far as I'm concerned, because he ain't Scottish. But of course he is in this globalised world, isn't he? He's just as Scottish as the guy that moved here at 9 years old. Is it really a case that people in Scotland just accept the fact that your politicians are just waiting patiently for the ability to open the floodgates to all insanity? I don't know what to fucking say. Fucking cake like.
New Scottish communities such as the Syrian communities and their background is crucial to us living together in peace and harmony. There is a risk of creating parallel communities where we live side by side without discovering the beauty others can add to our society. Each emerging community like the Sudanese community, have something new to contribute into our towns and
all this talk of contribution is something else that's starting to rub me up the wrong way. I could not give a fuck if the best and brightest from Sudan came over here with the sole intention to contribute to the best of their ability. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care if they were inept, disabled, mentally deficient in some capacity, or if they were big-brained, high-tech doctors and engineers. I couldn't care. Contributions mean fuck all to me as far as I'm concerned, because the underlying reason for this constant obsession and push to have as many of these people over here as possible is one, on the one hand, to rectify our ageing population problem, two, apparently we have to atone for our sins historically, and three, we're obligated to via UN conventions, etc.
cities. Now, there are two ways we can imagine this happening. One way is like creating a smoothie where you blend different fruits such as strawberries, bananas, blueberries and other fruits together and liquidize them. The smoothie might taste great, but the fruits lose their identity and individuality. The other way is to see it like a fruit salad, cut up in small pieces in a bowl. Each complements the other without losing its flavor and uniqueness. There is diversity, yet oneness, as they all have something to contribute to the whole. I imagine Scotland as a fruit salad bowl that can celebrate difference and value the taste others bring to our nation.
All that pish. And yet the more we embrace and indulge in this nonsense, the further we get away from the fact there is an indigenous population, a native population that is being diluted as their identity is being shredded and redefined, made non-existent in order to accommodate people such as him. As we're all Scottish, as he likes to remind us all. You know, this fruitcake can call my nation a fucking salad fruit ball all he wants. But the reality of the matter is, if this nonsense continues, there won't be a Scotland for your grandchildren or your grandchildren's children.